think it was 29 years ago. So we're about to get acquainted, and I think she's really done a great job. And thank you, and I want to thank I'd like to thank all the other state and local leaders who are here, and I'd like to cut to the chase. It's getting close to election. You can still swing some people. You can still swing some people who may be going to vote for Donald Trump with reservations, or maybe you decided they shouldn't vote. And you can't give up till the very end, because there's so much stuff going on all the time, and the social media is full of so much stuff. And every now and then some of it's true, but not all that often. I'm not running for anything. I mean, I'm almost as old as Donald Trump, so I shouldn't be. So I am, however, campaigning for my grandchildren's future. And I want them to grow up with their fundamental rights and their freedoms intact, in a country where the American dream is alive and well, and where everyone, including kids who don't come from families nearly as fortunate as theirs has been, have the same chance to live up to their dreams. And I think, in a nutshell, that is the country Kamala Harris and Tim Walz want to build. One that takes us all along for the ride. One that values all of our diversity, but thinks our common humanity matters more. And one who really believes facts matter. It's kind of important. Now, I'm pretty uniquely qualified to have an opinion about this race, because, not just because I had the job, but because I actually know both candidates pretty well. I haven't known Kamala very long, since she became vice president, but we spent a lot of time with her and her husband, and Hillary's known her for 30 years. And I've known Donald Trump pretty well since shortly after I left the White House, and that was a long time ago. I don't think it's a close question about who is temperamentally, intellectually, emotionally best qualified to be president. I don't think it's a close question whose policies are better for you. And I think that applies whether you're a fiscal liberal or conservative. And look how Trump is closing his campaign. Just like he started it, airing personal grievances and rather bizarre conspiracy theories. He demeans, divides, and demands absolute loyalty to whatever he says, even if it's patently false. Look what a pretty sunny day it is. I did that. Oh, but President Trump, it rained like crazy yesterday. Yeah, but it never would have happened if I'd been president. We're laughing because it's true, right? I mean, even his vice president, J.D. Vance, who's all my friends that want to rig me, say, he went to Yale just like you and Hillary did. And I said, yes, but we didn't forget arithmetic when we went there. And so the poor man, the one thing that he did hang on to was that he never said that Trump actually won the election in 2020. He was never an explicit election denier until about a week ago. And he was late to the party, but he realized that this is what he had to do. There's a bunch of old bad jokes where the punchline is, who you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? With Trump, it's always you, master. My eyes have nothing to do with this. I never saw anybody better than Trump at bragging and bashing, dividing, demeaning. And it may be good politics in the short run. It certainly has worked for him and the Republican Party. But it is just another way of taking every election away from you. Glorify me and I will make you dominant. Well, will it be good for me and my family? We'll get to that later. But if you say everything I say is right, if you're always there, I'll make you dominant. Now, this is a big problem, and that's what that 2025 plan's all about. They've been very open from the beginning of his campaign that the Federalist Society, which picked his Supreme Court judges and gave us the most right-wing Supreme Court in 100 years, that they're not right-wing enough. I mean, you couldn't make this up. They said they're not going to be recommending my judges anymore because every now and then one of them disagrees with me on something that's intolerable. The president ought to run the Supreme Court. That's not what the Constitution says. It says it's an equal branch of government. But that's what he says. Now, this is a big deal with very practical consequences to you. There may be 2 more judges on the Supreme Court in the next 4 years, a chance to give us a balanced and fair judiciary consistent with what the Constitution envisions, or a chance to enshrine what we're living with now for the next 30 years. And there hasn't been enough talk about it. This is really serious. It's not just about a woman's right to control her whole body, although that's a big deal and they want to revisit it. And don't you think they won't if they win. But there are all these other issues where what they're trying to do is to take the election away from you, put it in the hands of an extreme right-wing group of ideologues, and tell you that you should be happy about this because we're making you dominant over other people in our society. Kamala Harris thinks this election's about you. It's not about going back. I saw a great little chart on the internet the other day that said, we'll soon be setting our clocks back an hour for daylight savings time. That's a good thing. Don't turn around 2 days later and set it back 50 years. So, I want to, it's too late, I know, to go into any significant policy details, but I think there is one point that we still need to argue with our neighbors, because the surveys show that Trump still has about a 10-point lead on who'd be best for the economy, and that we have not eroded that. So I'd like to do my best to explain what actually happened and why I think it's bull. And when Donald Trump became president, he told us all how terrible America was. And did you notice, like, within 48 hours after his election, everything was hunky-dory? The stock market was reborn and the labor market was reborn. Here are the facts. In the last 2 years of Barack Obama's presidency, we had 8 million new jobs. And in the first 2 years of Trump's presidency, we had 6.4. And then the division got bigger. How come everybody thinks Trump did great? Not because of that big tax giveaway to big business. 85% of that went to stock buybacks and executives getting more money. It's because when something has gone on for a long time, if my old Oxford classmate, former Representative Tom Allen out there, he remembers this. You can ask him about this. He lived through this. So if things have been a certain way for a long time, sometimes they have to be changing for as long as 3 years before a majority of the people will feel it. Every time Shelley casts a hard vote in Congress, she's got to say, well, how soon will people know this? Will they acknowledge it? If the governor gets a bunch of money from the infrastructure program that they both promised, but Biden delivered and Trump didn't, how long will it be before people will say, well, that's created a lot of jobs in Maine? It's a lag time. It's a brain thing. It has nothing to do with Republicans and Democrats. So what happened was all these people who had been benefited by this comeback under Obama didn't really feel it till 2017, and Trump was president, and he said, I did that. Just like the sun coming up in the morning. Now he's trying to make a twofer. Whatever you think about President Biden, and I think he'll go down in history as a very effective president and very good. Whatever you think, we know that by the end of this year, and Joe Biden's 4 years as president, the economy will have produced more or less 16 million jobs, which is the largest number ever produced in a 4-year term in the history of America. Now, so what Trump is saying that a lot of people are buying is that may be fine. That's 16 million jobs, big deal. This is a country with over 340 million people. And inflation affects everybody. And we didn't have any when I was there, and now we do. Therefore, you have to vote for me. You've heard it, haven't you? Haven't you all heard it? Here's what's wrong with the argument. Everybody had inflation after COVID because worldwide economies shut down. And that's what we call the supply chains are broken. I mean, suppose the city council here decided the only way to deal with high fuel costs was for everybody to switch out of cars and drive scooters. But this is an example, but think about it. And they only gave you 90 days to make the switch. And in all of Portland, there were only 250 scooters for sale. So you got a huge demand and a tiny supply. What's going to happen to the price? It's going to go through the roof, right? And then people scurry around, they make more scooters, and finally it levels out. That's essentially what happened. And Biden tried to help that with the infrastructure bill, with the CHIPS Act. It dramatically shortened the supply chains in a very important way, with money to get rid of rusty pipes and build affordable broadband in every rural area in America. with all this stuff. And it took some time, but it's now happening, which is why the Federal Reserve cut interest rates, why the stock market's been at an all-time high, why everybody thinks we're rocking along. And then there are acts of God we have to negotiate. We didn't have a very good month this month because of all the storms, which is why we ought to be trying to minimize climate change. So, but my point is, if you explain that to people, some people will listen. I mean, Trump thinks he's going to have lightning strike twice. He thinks if I win this time, all of a sudden he'll be going to ribbon cuttings for projects he opposed. And there are several members of Congress in the other party that are doing that today. You need to just tell your neighbors this. It's not too late to talk to people, not in a hateful way, not in an angry way. Say, look, it's not close. One final thing. Maine's always, to me, been a fascinating place because it looks like you're philosophically pretty progressive, but you're tight with the dollar. Which I like. I was born in the first year after the Great War, and I'm in a since Depression era baby. My enduring childhood memory is I was a kind of a fat kid, and my mother made me wear a new outfit every Easter. And in the 50s, they were gaudy. I had pink and white suede belts and stuff like that. But the reason was that my grandfather, who was about the kindest, best person I ever knew, always bought his little girl a new dress for Easter. And one day he came in and got down on his hands and knees and cried and begged her to forgive me. He says, I don't have the $2 for the dress. So I get that. But what we've got to do is to spend what we have to spend to keep going and modernizing, but to be careful. So whose program costs more, Trump's or Harris? Trump's more than twice as much. How can that possibly be? Because he wants to give more to the big monopoly companies. Which program helps more people? Harris's more than twice as many. More than 100 million people get a tax cut. There's help to help people with elderly parents that need in-home health care. She wants to build 3 million more housing units right away to deal with the second big inflation crisis we got, which is housing. It's the first time anybody's ever proposed to help people with a down payment so younger working families can make a beginning. And it's a credit of up to $3,000 a year and $6,000 for the first year of your child's life. And this is a good investment. We know that kids that have good care in their early years do better in school, do better at work, make better contributions to society. It's really important. And it's nowhere near as expensive as what Trump's proposing. His tariffs, that sounds so good. We're going to stick it to the foreigners by putting a tariff on them. They're always trying to take advantage of us. The problem is, tariffs do work in rare circumstances. That is, let's take the CHIPS Act. If we think the Chinese have got a national security advantage over us, and we think we can be competitive, then it's okay to subsidize the building of plants for chips. And then we'll build them and sell them, we'll be competitive, and we can get rid of the tariffs. But if we just put a tariff on something that's made somewhere else and nobody's going to make it here, we put a 20% tax on you. That's what Trump has proposed. The economists say it'll cost the average middle-class family $4,000 a year if his tariff plan passes. And keep in mind, he's also going to give affirmative help to less than half as many people as the Harris plan. So, her plan strengthens the Affordable Care Act. His will get rid of it again. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, said the other day, oh, if we win this race, we're going to make radical changes. And he didn't mean he's going to make it better for you. It means you may have beaten us once before when we tried to take away your pre-existing condition protection, but we're going to do it again. And this time, we're also going to get rid of the $35 monthly rate on insulin, and we're going to get rid of the $2,000 annual cap on medical expenses for people on Medicare. And Harris, by contrast, says, I'm not going to get rid of that stuff. Every other country in the world has limits on drug prices, including places like Switzerland, that has massive drug interest. They still put caps on medical prices. So if you want to pay more for less, Trump's your guy. If you go to bed every night worried about those poor starving executives at the big pharmacy companies, he's your guy. But don't take my word for it. If you got a family pharmacy, go ask them. They'll tell you how it works. And we got a guy running for Congress in Southern California, who's Vietnamese, and the biggest Vietnamese community in the world outside Vietnam. And they never had a Vietnamese congressman before. So he's running. And he served in the military, then he went to law school, he was a family rights lawyer, and then he married a woman who was a community pharmacist and was elected to the legislature. So he took his legislative job full-time, except when he's helping his wife run the pharmacy. You just ought to listen to, all you got to do is listen to him talk. He said, tell us about the stories of the people that you serve. We have to make things work. Trump told us that he had concepts of a plan for health care. And as I said at the convention, President Obama once said I was the explainer-in-chief. I'm whipped. I can't begin to explain it, except I know it includes getting rid of the caps on prescription drug prices, getting rid of the affordability for pre-existing conditions, consolidating more and more unchecked power, no guardrails. Remember, affordable health care was saved by another Republican, Senator John McCain. He did that. And for his trouble, that man spent 5.5 years in the Hanoi Hilton. And the only person I know who was there longer is Congressman Pete Peterson, who was from Florida, and I made him the first ambassador to Vietnam. John McCain, when I agreed with him and when I didn't, was fun to be around, made the most of his life, dealt with the injuries he carried every day of his life with grace and honor. Asked Hillary to go with him to Point Barrow, Alaska, the northernmost community in America, which is sinking into the mud because of climate change. They went to Tromsø, Norway, the northernmost community, I think, on the planet, where they do a lot of surveys on climate change, and Hillary sent me a picture. I said, "You and John having fun up there?" And she said, "Here's the picture on my cabinet. It says, 'Don't go outside after dark without a flashlight and a gun, or the polar bears will eat you.'" The idea that someone would mock his service, his imprisonment, who does that? A person who's in it for himself, not for you. So that's my pitch. There's a reason. There's a reason. And you got to talk to your friends, but there's a reason. Half of President Trump's first cabinet won't endorse it. There's a reason more than 100 elected Republican officials won't endorse it. There's a reason Liz Cheney won't endorse him, and neither will her daddy. And he's one of the most conservative political figures of the last 30 years. Because everybody who loves this country knows at some point we all have to live under the same set of rules. And we fight elections under the same set of rules. And Donald Trump doesn't believe that. He believes there should be one set of rules for him and his crowd and another set for everybody else. You know, we just had a great World Series. And I'm a New Yorker. I'm a huge Yankee fan. I was crushed they didn't win. But you got to give it. You got to give it to the Dodgers. They were magnificent. I mean, they did a great thing, right? So if I became a series denier, what would happen? I'd say, you know, I used to like Clinton, but God, he's really lost it now. He can't even add in single-digit numbers from inning to inning. What's the difference? We think people playing baseball ought to live under the same set of rules and be transparent about the facts are. How can we believe that government should be under different rules? How can we? So, I believe Kamala Harris has shown great growth as vice president. I believe that Tim Walz is a profoundly consequential governor. I want somebody in the White House that knows something about agriculture and rural life. And I want somebody who believes if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. I want that. And I believe that the likelihood is very high that she and he will do excellent jobs that we'll be proud of. So we just have to say to our friends and neighbors here and anybody else you can get a hold of, are we going to play this blame game 4 more years? If we raised our kids the way Donald Trump is raising his politicians, they'd probably have to do a stop in a reform school before they could go to college or into the workforce. We couldn't do, you wouldn't do anything like this in any other area. So, and this is an old story. The forces of division have been fighting the forces of progress forever. The beginning of the preamble of the U.S. Constitution. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. I once did a show on cable TV about the presidency, and I said, you can define anybody's presidency by how they define we the people and how they define more perfect union. All the rest is details. So division, denial, demeaning, it may be good politics, but it's a terrible governing strategy. And it's terrible for the way we think and feel. It never created a single job or educated a child or lifted a community or a family or a country. So I ask you to vote for the candidate most likely to rekindle the American dream, most likely to give us a chance to be whole again. He'll be so glad you're a congressman here when he can argue with us again. But, really. And we can meet on the street, shake hands, have a difference of opinion, and go on. Look, we've got serious challenges all over the world today. We've got a challenge with artificial intelligence. Can we reap all the benefits without bearing the burdens? Can we replace the jobs? And can we figure out how to put jobs in areas that have been left out and left behind because of technology? This is going to be a fascinating time. But we've got a lot of hay in the barn. This is still the best positioned country in the world for the 21st century. But we have to believe that our interesting differences work only when our common humanity matters more. That's what we have to believe. We can do it. Are you going to do it in the next 6 days? You only have 4 days. You only have 4 days. But that 4 days will shape the next 40 or 50 years. So give it all you got. We can do it. Thank you.